a panel of breeders and pheno hunters. And Adam, do you want to kick things off?
Yeah. So is this coming through okay? All right.
Yeah.
Testing. Woo-hoo. All right. So really, I think is what we're getting to here is just from the length of formulating or coming up with flavors.
Just maybe a little bit closer.
A little closer, or breeding. Oh. Yeah. All right. Sweet. There we go. Just the whole commercialization of a genetics. So from conception, how do we come up with it? What are we coming up with? What flavors are we deciding, and how is it staying relevant on the shelf? So really what this is the product development pipeline is the way I understand it. If you guys want to talk about it differently.
No, that's it. That's great. Thank you. Kick it off.
All right. So, I think kind of start this as a baseline for everyone. It really is about the timing. So from breeding, conceptualizing what you want to put into market, you're generally about 12 to 16 months, some cases 24 months before you see something actually hit a consumer market in the shelf. And so really deciding, for example, if you're coming with another, runt strain right now, there's a lot of runts out there. You're going to run into some problems. So really understanding what that wave is, how it's coming out, how it's relevant to the consumer. And you're looking at a number of different buckets when it comes down to it, because there's what do the smokers want? What do the masses want? And everything in between, because you can be breeding for hash washing. You can be breeding for outdoor. You can be breeding for premium craft indoor. You can be breeding for manufacturing purposes. So it really comes down to what are you breeding for? It comes down to how you're breeding for it. And really what I'm doing right now is just setting the stage, because I know amongst the skill sets up here, there's a whole bunch of different folks with different skill sets. And so as you see us swirl off into kind of different rabbit holes, kind of getting some of that general lay of the land. And I don't know, hopefully I'm not being too presumptuous for all of you guys, but lay some general groundwork on how this goes. And I know if I use it for us, really what we're breeding for is premium flavors, like really driving those trends. So like when you're looking at Canadian, gas is more Canadian than craft dinner. Like gas always has a home, it always has a demand. But like as you're going through flavor profiles, really what you're seeing right now is the wave. And I think we're kind of coming about middle of the wave on that candy gas kind of phase, where you're getting a lot of mix of those candy gases, but then you're getting a lot of the unique different terps that are starting to poke their heads into all of this. And you're starting to wave into this. So it really becomes a thought process on how are you pulling this through. And, it's a combination of the end consumer as well as the R&D process that kind of goes into it. And, guys like Dave, I've been watching Dave do a bunch of great work and bring a bunch of good things to the market. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, well, and just before you finish, Adam, and we had the privilege of having Josh on our panel earlier, and he was outlining a lot of the process of, and for the most part, you are doing stuff internally. Yeah. You're not trying to produce you're not a nursery, and you have a very you've got connoisseur smokers who test your product before you pick the winners and stuff. So,
in truthfulness, Dave is our nursery.
Dave's your starting material.
Distribution.
Yep.
We are now. Oh, Jesus Christ! Hello. My microphone is way up there, or my voice. Yeah. Is it my voice?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, hi guys.
Sound good, man. Sound good.
Yeah, I'm used to have like more vivid crowds. I sing in a punk rock band, so usually people in front of me are just dancing around. So I'll try to keep my voice lower, but I'm used to yelling. So yes, we're working with Adam. We're working with a lot of people. We do have really wide variety of genetics in our nursery. Most of the stuff that we have is obviously from our own pheno hunts. We do have some legacy cuts of many different provenance, but what we've always enjoyed having is stuff that was unique to us. So unique to our own research and development. obviously following the trends has always been something we've been trying to be on par with, but you're always like one step later if you're trying to follow any current trends.
Setting trends.
Yeah, well, setting the trend is different, but following, let's say, if everybody has gelatos. Oh yeah, I'm gonna finish on gelatos, but you're 16 months down the road where you're gonna find a good phenos, and is it still gonna be relevant down the way? So now, what we're hunting now in the nursery is mostly from our own breedings and from the genetics that we have that for us has been gaining a lot of velocity in the market. So we're trying a wide variety of flavors, but obviously right now, what is the number one driving factor for selling anything? This fucking THC. And, this discussion's probably been on the table here forever. It's always the same thing.
I think it's our next conversation, too.
Yeah. I mean, THC, if it's below 20. When I started the nursery project, the threshold was 20%. Oh, yeah, it needs to be 20%. Yeah, if it was below that, you could still sell it, but, it had to have a great profile. But then we started the next year after it was 23, 24 was the new threshold. And then the next year was 26, 27. And now it's almost 30. And that next year is going to be 45. So
I think it is at 30 because we've already hit that, I feel, because we have some really good ones out there. And we tried to pull the low 20s on phenomenal stuff. We got a lot of feedback and people really liked it. We're like, we're going to try this. Super small. We'll do like a direct delivery model in BC, and didn't sell. And the retailers were like, this is amazing, but it didn't matter because we were like 21, 22. Okay, we're like, we got to be above 25.
Yeah.
Nothing. Then we got to be above 27. And now the only stuff we got momentum on, like true momentum, is 30. It's like we're 30 plus. What's next?
I know it's ridiculous, but we're hearing trends that are going backwards now from, let's say in Quebec is the SQDC. They're offering SKUs now for everyone who wants to grow anything between 14 to 18%. There's absolutely nobody growing that stuff right now for them. It's a huge gap in the market. Everybody obviously went for the money. The money was in THC. Same for export. So it's kind of the game right now. So whatever the pheno you'll find, it's amazing and crazy. It has everything. It checks all the boxes. If it doesn't have THC, you're just going to sit on it.
You know what, though? I would say as of late, we've started to see a movement. So we also have a brokerage contingency consulting where we've actually seen quite a bit of demand lately that's been focused more on terpenes and flavors. And it's a smaller moving model, but like what we're seeing is, you're starting to see that reintroduction. And I'd argue almost a little bit, you're starting to see a little bit of a maturity. Like you're getting those staples where gas, you'll see that throughout. Grapes and cherries, you'll always have a grapes and cherries, but your hazes, you're getting some of these classic lines that you're seeing people reinvent or refresh, and what we call it working a line. So like if we've got like our strawberry froyo's had a bunch of success, so now we've got strawberry froyo 2.0, 3.0, where you get that invested customer, and instead of trying to resell them something else, you're putting twists on it. But to your point about THC, you're starting to see that enter the lower THC because you're getting people that don't want to be floored. Like there's certain people that aren't heavy smokers. Sorry.
Well, I think it's hilarious because we were hunting this grape diamonds and it was phenomenal. It smelled amazing and it hit amazing. And so my test process, I have like about 10 people. I just give it to them, say nothing. Just here you go. Try this. Let me know what you think.
Yeah.
That floored me. That was insane. That was the most crazy. I was like 16% was my first test.
Right.
And you all think so. It doesn't even correlate. And not to mention, sometimes I like sending it to multiple labs, get a couple tests, 16, 21, 18. You never know. It's super hard, but I would love to see it. It's just hard. So background, we're a smaller producer. We do a lot. So it's hard to push something that's not hot.
Are you guys finding people requesting certain feelings more than numbers? Is that?
Yeah, like I'd say unsophisticated. Like it's an indica sativa discussion where really what they're trying to say, am I going to go up or am I going to go down? And then trying to educate and diversify that. Like when you're talking to the heads, we're talking terps, but you got to translate that into your retailers, your consumer packaged good folks, where they're now going after need state versus terpenes. Like you're almost translating, right? You know, hey, these gas terps, this is probably going to put you out. And now there are nuances on how everyone reacts to it, but it's that kind of interpretation of where it's going. And you're starting to have an unsophisticated version of that discussion going on, I guess, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think any discussion pushing it is good though, right? Because it seems like there's newer people in the market just continually entering when you have that. I need high THC, I need this. So it's advancement.
And David, I just want to jump in and share a little bit about your practices and experience and your relations with your customers as well.
Okay. Interesting. When we started 6 years ago, as you said, 20% was the threshold. We were all hoping we were going to make that 20%. And stocks were going up and down, even depending on if, these big companies were hitting 20s and then 25. And then we hit our first 30 and 32 and 33. And it's, I think it's coming back down. I hope it's coming back down. As a parent to a daughter that's 21, do I need her smoking 35, 40% THC? Probably not. And so I hope that when when cannabis users go into dispensaries and the bud tender suggests what brand it is, it's based maybe more on the terpene percentage than the THC percentage. I think we're getting there. It would have been amazing if we were there from the start, right? I mean, how different would the industry be if
I would have come out with probably completely different.
If people, because I know, for my brother, for an example, he's never bought illegal cannabis. He's never been into it until it was legal. And so he would go to the dispensary and ask, what's the best product? And it was always highest THC, highest THC, highest THC. And geez, if from day one they said this has the highest terpenes, this, a lot of people come back for a second and third time because it made them feel a certain way, creative, or I felt like cleaning my house, for example, or I just sat there with a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
Those are.
So David, like how is Trichome Hills doing anything different, or do you have to play this game? I mean, we've got to talk at 3:00 about Beyond THC, and I'm sure that this is going to come up over and over again. And much of our panels before, we've had discussions around terpenes, the new wave of strains. So there's been a reoccurring theme that this is an issue. Can Trichome Hills be any different? Can Tricalyx be any different? Can Flavor House be any different? And I see you got the West Coast Gas shirt. I smelt some of the product that came from West Coast Gas. It was phenomenal. Do you want to share a little bit on that?
Sure. We work closer and closer now with the University of Guelph. They're one of maybe the best university in Canada for plant science. Max is back in the corner there, the Max Jones Labs. And so, science driven, like really understanding the science behind it all. These guys, when they speak, I'm just nodding my head. It's kind of going over my head sometimes with just how scientific this can be. And I think that's probably going to be, if you look at corn, for example, not that long ago, 50 years ago, once science got involved, it just took off. The plant as a whole, the industry changed when science, I think, became the focus. So that's what we're really trying to dive into, the science.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Robert, do you want to share a little bit about your T-shirt there, as well as maybe some New Life Canna stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So New Life Canna is our processing name, or our license holder, and then we realized that we need to do something a little different. So we came up with West Coast Gas, and it's got a lot of legacy to the old school strains, and that's something we've been big on. We have to do it all, but pushing like the rock stars, the death bubbas, the really old stuff that when I get a call, when guys are rolling and they call the number in the back and they get me, they tell me it's like, what they had in the 60s or the 70s. And I like that. It's great, but it hits a lot harder, obviously. So something we're trying to do is appeal to what people have told us they want, which is the legacy strains. And we have a lot of it in our genetic library, but the problem is they're like 63, 70-day flower strains. So you're losing tons of weeks producing it. So a lot of people ask, how come more people aren't doing it? Definitely one of the reasons really hard to trim. They don't always yield the best. So there's quite a few features that we're pushing it. And on the side, we have another couple rotations of the exotic stuff because cheese was like the number one request for us. So we had a banana cheesecake, and we had another grower grow that for us, but it was on Vancouver Island. It was amazing. So we're trying to kind of hit both segments of the market. But like I said, we tried to push the lower THC thing. It didn't really work for us or the retailers, but I would like to get back there.
And can you just comment about some of those older strains? Have you selected? Are you doing some selections around those to get lower flowering times?
So we are consistently trying to just like find new strains, perfect those strains, take it all, and like anything that sees, like I think you were saying, like 12 to 16 months is like pretty much what we're seeing before we actually take something and have it in somebody's hand. And we're seeing that with even the ones that we know are tried, tested, and true. So we haven't even got the time to truly kind of try and breed them a different way. We do lower flowering times, but we just haven't seen the same effect. So speaking of science, it's really nice to put aside the bro science, if you will, because a lot of that is what I was taught with, right? And then we are proving to ourselves that it doesn't make sense, some of these things. So when people were telling us, you need to go longer flower, you need to do this, sometimes it was right, sometimes it was completely wrong. So our banana cheesecake, 56 days.
Oh, sweet.
So our Death Bubba, 70.
Exactly. It's so strain specific. It's so strain specific that for each strain, you really do need to test itself for any little tricks for, flowering time or yields. How you can steer it, for example, they're all so strain specific. It's a cop-out answer sometimes to say, oh, it's strain specific, but it's so true.
And even with our Rockstar, we did, sorry, I totally cut you off, but we pushed it out and it was amazing. And then we kind of had some issues with our moms, and then we had to take a break, get back to it. And it's still not even the same strain. Test different, taste different, very similar, but it's not the same. So,
well, I'm sorry, I missed that. Did you say that you took it through TC or did no? No.
It was just we had some issues with it, so we couldn't produce as much as we needed. So it kind of was on the back burner. We didn't have the clones. The mom wasn't doing as good as we wanted to. We haven't tissue cultured it yet. Okay, but I think it's probably in the next bit we're gonna have to. But I haven't even really rode down that road. So
right. Okay, sure. Adam.
Well, I guess what you see too, and I know you guys have both mentioned it, like getting into a lot of the classic terps. And when you're dealing with classic terps, the classic terps and classic strains really didn't hit potency. Like potency is a new phenomenon that, to the earlier point, that's evolved since legalization. So now you're seeing a lot of these requests for a lot of people saying that I want that classic haze, I want that classic Northern Lights, I want this. But then you're in the THC conundrum where you're now saying, okay, well, I want that profile. Now you're trying to hunt that flavor and reintroduce that potency to it. And I was talking to David actually backstage, and he was talking a lot about like the different hazes and OGs that he's trying to mix in, which kind of ties into that Canadian, that OG, that gas, that Canadian staple that kind of sits, and it's very unique to Canada. Like for those that aren't going outside of the Canadian market, like that's very succinct to us. Like that's not as much of an overseas phenomenon. So, but just worth
they don't like the basement stanky terps as much, so yeah. Whereas that's a compliment here, and people are like, "Oh, it smells like basement," kind of like it's like intense and dank. Dank is always used. That's what they want.
Repulsive. That's the word I.
But with the smile, right?
Yeah. It stinks. Oh, it's so bad. And they keep going back to it. It's the repulsive smell that we can't get enough of, and that seems to be what we're drawn to and attached to, as you said, in Canada at least.
I do want to comment, just taking back from what earlier panelist Josh from Flavor House also, he made that comment where customers will come and say that was the most amazing weed I've ever had. What do you have next? What's next? And we're trying to figure out why that is, because I'm a whiskey drinker. I could drink Lagavulin 16 was one of my first, and it'll probably be what I drink till I die. How do you keep up with this, Dave? What are you doing?
How many times did we come up with a Pheno and a Pheno hunt? Is just putting all of our money into this one because that has everything, and we think that one's gonna rock it on the market. It's gonna be the cut of the year, and it fall flat. And then another cut that we've had just sitting on the bench, somebody's starting to grow a room of that, and then it hits it off, and you didn't even think that this one would take off so much. So this is kind of a, you can put all your money on whatever you think. It's always the market's going to talk. It's always they decide, and what are they deciding? I mean, it's up to them. What's pleasing to their palate? Where are they from? What's their background? Who is going? I mean, if most of these guys were smoking legacy, what was in the background of their area? I mean, was it all M39? Was it all Amnesia Haze back then? Was it all Jack Herrera? Was it all Jean Guy? If you are from Quebec, people were looking sometimes for stuff that they're familiar with. Those terps profiles are just talking to them. Of course, there's a lot of new flavors, but at the nursery, we have a lot of the old cuts of all these things, like the real Jean Guy. By the way, if you want to smell the real Jean Guy, I have some in my bag. If you're nostalgic about it, and so we're playing around with Jean Guy now. We're trying to do the Jean Guy 2.0 because that terp profile is amazing and people loved it, but it's only a 18 to 20% strain. So we're using the old and the new, trying to smash those together, and plus because of there's such a distance between all these lineage that F1 or F2 is going to be probably much more. It's going to have a lot of vigor. It's going to have a lot of new things to offer. And just smashing gelatos together, just smashing GMO strains and all these things. Eventually, you're looking for the high potency. Obviously, GMO has a lot of potency and all the chems and all the, but eventually those profiles are getting redundant. It's always the same thing.
Well, Dave, being in Quebec, you're probably a great one to talk about because there's very much a regionalization of profiles. And Jack Hare was such a Quebec profile. Like, do you not get a lot of demand for that? Like, I would see that regionalization come into effect.
The closest, I think, that was Amnesia Haze was sold like crazy by, I think, Originator. Yeah. And it's probably one of the closest profiles, I think, that they had to the old school terps. But what's amazing too is if you go, I just came back from cannabis, and one of the best strains still getting, I think, #1 sales in Europe is Amnesia Haze. And it doesn't matter for them about the THC, it's about the flavor, and the flavor is amazing in this. So yeah, you got to combine the both. This is our approach right now. We're trying to get the old with the new. And
Dave, do you on some of those ones that you think are going to be winners, and they're not?
Yeah. Do
you put them into TC, or do you just throw them away?
We save them regular nursery style. We just clone and then save those.
You'll later. Continue to save it even though it wasn't a winner?
It might be not a winner for THC, but it's probably the only reason why. If it has everything else, we might end up keeping it. And we do have a wide variety of cuts that we've been saving. Okay. We have a 48 lamp room just to keep the plant collection. So that's a lot of work. We have 2 guys working nonstop just to maintain the plant collection. And
I think tomorrow we are having more conversations around tissue culture. I was just wondering if anyone here uses it, or some that are fearing that you might lose something by using it.
If you don't mind, one of my favorite strains that I've probably ever smoked, we developed it. It was a peanut butter breath and Afghani chill, I believe. We call it PB and chill. Everybody loved it, and they thought it tasted like or smelled like a single malt Scotch whiskey. So I could smell that forever. Everybody loved the buzz. The bag appeal was there. The buzz was there. The yield was there. 21% THC. Nobody wanted it. I was begging people. We had the High North Labs, which I don't know if you know, but they give percentiles with their reports, which is great. I don't know if you guys, it's really great, especially for the minor cannabinoids to really know what the percentiles are. But the top 6 or 7 terps all were in the 99th percentile. Nobody was interested in it. And so that, for example, we put into tissue culture because we do think at some point, actually I was speaking to our friends at High Exotic. Never mind, actually. But you might see it. You might see it.
Okay. Oh, nice. Yes. Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the THC potency too. That sounds great. Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, I just got to say, I'll never get rid of a genetic. The only time I ever have is if there's a problem with it. Even if you like get it and it doesn't check anything off, I'm like, but what if? And because you never know where the market's going to go. Look at what it does now. It just flips over. So I definitely.
That's true. And
we grow what we need to around the genetics, not build for anything.
And right now we've got more demands like from people who want to export from 20 to 25% strains. We've got some that we can pull out of the plant collection and offer them now. And those great profiles that we've saved and you know, it was a lot of money involved in time and dedication to keeping those cuts alive and clean, and now it's paying off. But we've been saving those cuts for different reasons, and mostly it's because we want to have that catalog of different flavors, and it could even be just a bud density and the colors, and then this one has a great disease resistance trait, and it's fast. That one is spicy, it's colorful. So we have all these different things we can play around to do all these crosses. And the more you have, the more that you have the ability to be creative with your genetic part. And now more than ever, we fear bringing in seeds from outside because of the HLVD situation with every goddamn breeder. I think might have it or not, or whatever the seed provenance is. We're always scared popping anything that's like fairly recent genetic crosses from any commercial breeder. So for us, it's inbreeding now. We're doing our own breeding, and from there, we know that stuff is going to be clean. Because every time I feel like I'm dodging bullets, if I'm popping seeds from any kind of companies, it's you never know what you're going to get, and that's for us, it's a big challenge. So this is why we like to play around with our own plant collection.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So you guys must have some big rooms just for the potential winners in time. Why not TC?
For us, it's past experiences, and I mean it's personal probably, but we've had issues with plant coming back with different problems from TC. Also, having more than 150 strains in storage would cost us pretty much all of our profits.
Right. Okay.
So, and having also our own TC lab would be another challenge for us. That we're not up there, and yet we've spoken to a lot of people that had some similar challenges with TC. So we don't really, we're not into it. But we're keeping a very clean plant collection, and that's for us. It works. It works so far.
I mean, it's so expensive. It's so expensive to get tissue culture cuts. It's like $2,000, somewhere in that range, plus, plus, right? Yeah, and plus storage, $2,000 to do it, and then they charge you every month to store it. And as you mentioned, they're not all the same. People's procedures for doing it aren't the same, and you don't get the same results. If you need a good one, University of Guelph does an excellent job. We're going to have
the timing too. I mean, let's say I want to do another seed run. I want to create new genetics. If I have everything in storage and I got to call these genetics to be taken out of storage, grown, and then I get the small shoots and then grow. It's like a 6 to 8 month process just to get those cloned back. And then I got to do the seeds and then do the pheno hunt from it. It's just, for me, having all the plants readily available is just perfect. It's like taking spices off my rack. Just I'll add this to this, and I can be super creative because sometimes if you look at me going inside of pheno hunt rooms, the plant collection, if I will just take whatever, just out of creativity, sometimes I'll just take this one and I'm gonna add this one to this, and it's just everything I put on paper gets often just discarded at some point because it's once I'm in the room with all these genetics and I remember these profiles and I remember this one, that has this, that the creativity gets in, and then that's my own process. But yeah, it's been good. I mean, the results we got from our own breedings are amazing because we use like the best cuts. So.
Yeah. Well, I'd say too, a lot of what you've seen, I've seen stuff go into TC and come back flawless, and I've seen stuff go into TC and come back very degraded from what you've seen either from a THC or a potency perspective.
Right, okay.
So it's very situational and it's hard to tell. So you're going to put all your eggs in one basket to send something in and hope that it's coming back. You've got to keep that mother alive or those genetics alive while you're kind of working through that process. because I've seen it work great and I've seen it work not so great. And then the finger pointing exercise comes through. Was it the quality of the shoots? Was it the hormones? Was it the agar? Like, there's so many pieces that come into play. And I do think it will get there, but I think there's still a lot of work where we're still fine tuning what that looks like. So it's still young. We're still figuring it out. Like, it definitely has a place, but it's working our way through that process now.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think we know the plant well enough to know what's actually giving it some of the characteristics, and maybe some of those diseases, viroids, viruses, are actually beneficial in what we see as a flavor or the aroma. So yeah, David.
To your point about not knowing the plant well enough, we've been doing work with allergens in the cannabis plant. It came to our attention that more and more people are testing positive to cannabis allergens, and right. I mean, your eyes going red. It's probably not just high THC. It's probably more to it. Anyhow, so I've been speaking to allergen doctors, and they don't know yet where the allergen comes from.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so I've said to them, figure it fucking out. Excuse my language, and then maybe we can breed it out.
Right.
And they said, well, you probably can't breed it out. I was like, well, figure out what it is first, and then tell us whether we can breed it out or not. So to your point, we're still learning about this plant.
I do want to turn it over to the audience to have some questions that they may have. Feel free to come up to the mic and fire away. Lyle?
First of all, GMO is my Lagavulin. I'll smoke GMO till the day I die. But most of these crosses lose everything that comes from the original, right? My main question, though, is as breeders, I haven't been able to find this with any lab, but have you been talking to anybody or dealing with anybody that can test for thiols and esters? Because gas and skunk, not terpenes, right? That really heavy gas skunk smell comes from totally different particles, and most people have, that the average consumer has no idea. But I have been trying to find a lab or trying to find somebody that's interested in it to actually start testing for these things to see like how skunky is this, how gassy is this? Because 3% terps when it's limonene has nothing to do with a gassy cut.
That's real good. Sorry, I just got to say I haven't found that either, and I think would really change the profile of what you get, because you're right, you're kind of going by the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lab that's working on it. I just don't know if it's public knowledge yet. So let me ask them, and I'll get back
to me later.
But it is on the roadmap with someone we know and love. So
okay. Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. I know that I think High North is testing for flavonoids right now, but you could sign off on flavonoids.
So close.
And then there's in the U.S. Abstracts. They're more of a research facility, but they do come out with some stuff as well.
Great. Awesome.
Thanks, Lyle. Any other questions? Feel free to come up to the mic. I will occupy a little more time by just more in the breeding side and perhaps in the pheno hunting side as well. Are you making more of your decisions around the end consumer, or some of it to the growers and the trim team and the efficiencies? Well, how do you make that weight in your decisions?
Of course, it has to check those boxes. Trimmability is number one for our partners. Weight, they want to have weight. You won't sell them something that's going to be only 45 grams a square foot. They want to have output. They want to have density. If it's too low in density, it won't work too. There's a lot of prerequisites, but obviously to check all the boxes is a very hard case. Every time it's always the dices are rolling on each traits. Is it gonna be like terps and then potency and then all the commercial aspects of it? But what we do is always try to take something unique. I'm always hunting for something that's gonna really catch my nose. And yeah, man, I haven't had that terp profile in a very long time, or something very like just the last pheno hunt. We had one. Immediately when I put my nose on it, was like butter popcorn, and I was like, holy fuck! I've never smelled buttery popcorn. It smells exactly like when you get in a cinema. And I was like, that's interesting, but is it going to be good for market? I don't know. And I felt that it had something unique. So there's those unique things that we're looking for. And then for the rest, there's always, enough seeds for us to play around and find all the other traits. But breeding also has to consider male. Pheno-hunting your males is as important as pheno-hunting your females. You need to have all the traits in your males, like the flower cluster density, the stem rub, how is it? And then just the petiola, how stretch, how much, everything. It has to hit all the boxes too. You can't take the first male. You have to pheno-hunt those, and when you find a good one, save it or save the pollen. We have our freezer is full of pollens of different strains, and that's. For us, it's as rich. It has as much value as the seeds below. It's just
that's great. Thanks,
Adam. For us, I think we really go for the disease resiliency first. Like honestly, if it's not really resilient, like especially once you're getting to large commercial grows, if you don't have that resiliency there, the commercialization falls off. Like if you check all the other boxes, like you're not like you're getting all walks of life from growers. You're getting legacy cannabis growers, you're getting large commercial ag growers, and everything in between. And so for us, we're really hunting for flavors and resiliency first. Then we get into potency and yield as we get into our next round. And so we're refining it through, but really we need a workhorse, because if it's not commercially viable on the yield, if you're running the risk on pest and pathogen, then it's going to be problematic and upset the stability of the business, and the longevity is just not there. At least that's the way we've been looking at it. So,
well, that's interesting. I'm going to follow up with you with that later. Jennifer, do you have a question?
I did actually. You mentioned density, and I've been racking my brain for a really long time now. But what are your strategies to quantify density of your flower?
That's actually a really hard one. I don't think we've ever, aside from literally like the sensation and how it is, and then seeing it as it's drying, and then as it's in the cure, and then it's always hard because you got to like let it go. We keep it in bags and try it out after. But aside from bro science, I got nothing.
It's
100% bro science.
Grams per foot, right? Is how dense it is often relates to the yields, right? If you could have the same. Everything looks the same. You have a bud that's really loose and a bud that's really dense. You're going to see it in the yield.
Some of the densest, one of our densest strain is the animal mints. So dense that terps are almost not even coming out of it. It's like a black hole of terps. But you got to crush it. Once you grind it, it all comes out. And that's always been the problem with that strain. It's awesome in terms of production. A kilo is going to fit like in a Ziploc bag, but man, it has such a density that you put it in your nose and it's like, well, no terps. Where are the terps?
We grew that,
it and they'll reveal themselves.
Yeah, we grew that for a long time, and it killed us because people would open the bags and they couldn't smell anything. Then they had to grind it. Sorry, I just had it because we grew that for a long time. Nice guy.
I was just to say, so probably not great for extraction, right?
Yeah, exactly, because the density is too high.
So when we're planning, it's really what the end game is. What are we trying to grow for flower, for fresh frozen extract? I think you'll all agree. Like we have to know what the end goal is, right? And then we can work our way back for what pieces we're zipping together based on that. And they could be two totally different things. Where we have 3 or 4 completely different hunts going on at one time, whether it's for a high grade flower or outdoor, seedless potentially.
Stephen.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Just curious, are there specific strains that you kind of keep coming back to that maybe are, let's say, carriers and don't give off characteristics? So let's say we're going back to the conversation of I need something high yield, high THC with this amazing terp profile. What do you cross that into that maybe you won't lose those terpene profiles? It's just you're trying to maybe with a deep chunk or a Durban poison, like trying to get a little bit more weight out of it, but without losing that like very unique terpene profile. Are there strains even like Dave that you have like in the back room that like you're like, this is a champion breeder, and it doesn't give off too many characteristics except for weight, or
I see. I understand your question, and yeah, we have some donors that are like better at giving off like high terpene profiles, or just some of them are also very mute, and the dominancy would always come from the other lineage. But still, yeah, we do. It depends on what. If you're crossing sweets with sweets or sweets with danks, sometimes the dank will win over the sweets, but it depends on your donor. We have both. It's just it's whatever the recessive the dominancy comes in, and then whatever the luck you have in terms of the pheno hunt you're doing. How many seeds did you pop in? What's the average? Because usually, I mean, how many seeds do you pop in the pheno hunt too? This is another big question. We do an average of 30 to 50, sometimes 100, but it's just, if you just pop one pack, your range is going to be very low in terms of whatever you can find. It's always a piece of luck, but definitely we have some very interesting donors for that, and it usually is always, if you're using the proper male. And you know what this is one interesting thing we found out with pheno hunting males. If you want to really have the terp profile of that male, wait until it's almost done. When it's almost depleted of pollen, then if it's a really good donor, you'll have a trichome cover that's going to be on the pods, on the male pods, the bells, and then you can really have a real terp profile from it. If it's a great donor, like we've had an awesome Mac, an awesome Mimosa that we've had the luck to really go and get those terps out of these clusters, but you got to wait it out, and then you'll know if it's a great terp profile donor.
That's a great tip. Unfortunately, I think I am going to wrap it up. Thanks. I want to give thanks to Robert from New Life Canna, or from West Coast Gas, Adam Brockus from Flavor House, Dave Claremont from Tricalyx, and David Phillips from Trichome Hills.